First of all, welcome. Second of all, I'm gonna give you the blanket answer to the title of this video right now, that being that Outriders is a dark, gritty, and brutal sci-fi co-op loot-based third-person RPG shooter. Yes, it's a mouthful, developed by People Can Fly out of Poland, even though they really can't, and published by, who's it published by? Square Enix. That's who it is. I was just testing. I knew that. You didn't. Now you do. You're welcome. Hello you, I'm too sketchy. Thanks for tuning in and letting me share my excitement for a little game called Outriders, and hopefully it's not an over-exaggerated hype train or whatever, because we've had some busts this year. But Outriders is a game that I'll be playing on this channel with my friends, on my Twitch stream, and even with you. So this marks the beginning of our journey for the Outriders launch, which happens to be in February, coming up very soon. And we're going to be diving deep into a familiar genre, however, into a brand new and unforgiving world called Enoch. Most of you should be familiar with games like Destiny, Warframe, and even The Division. However, I should prefix this before we continue. Outriders is not a live service game as the other ones I just mentioned, and it doesn't have any PvP. What I mean by that is that there's no plans in place for the player base. Yes, I just realized that's 3 P's in a row. I'm really bad at writing scripts. To chase some sort of endless monthly or weekly reward system, which, oh, by the way, and this feels so good to say, excludes microtransactions. Yes, I know, it's crazy. 2020, 2021 era, a AAA title, no microtransactions. The dream is true, boys. Most of you, if not everyone, should be excited to hear that. Now, this is kind of sad to be excited about, but when you purchase Outriders, it is the full and final product until potential future DLCs. You know when you buy a game and it's early access, or it's beta, or there's just a ton of bugs. This is not it. This is going to be full, final, finished, just polished gaming for one measly price tag. You know how the good days used to be. You go to a store, you buy your copy of, I don't know, Turok or whatever, you go home and you play it. There's no strings attached, there's no battle pass, no freemium currency, no subscription fees, no nothing. Ugh, when I first heard about that Outriders was staying away from that usual AAA title premium model, I jumped for joy. I was excited. I jumped for joy. I was happy. I was like, yeah. That's how excited I was. And it's kind of sad that nowadays that's what I have to look forward to. A game that's not gonna, try to rip me off, or even you. I know that this part is gonna make me sound like some sort of marketing asshole, and I get it, but with that, Outriders is making it pretty light on people's wallets compared to some of the other titles on this market, which will ultimately eliminate the fear and or anxiety of missing content, like monthly, weekly, or seasonal resets, or whatever developers like to do nowadays. I'm gonna keep mentioning this. It is a complete packaged up, class-based looter shooter with RPG elements, which will also include world tier challenges and bosses, kind of like in Diablo, endgame content, which will include anything between common to legendary weapon and or gear drops, plus a really cool campaign story. Now, besides the previously mentioned features, Outriders will be maxing out its parties to up to 3 players. Making this a co-op experience to be able to play with others does not mean, however, that you can't play this alone or with just 2 players, because you totally can. But one has to assume that playing with more people is probably more fun. Aside from partying up with others, Outriders will be including a seamless drop-in and drop-out system, which will allow players to continue to be the star of their campaign, however, having their supporting cast of their co-op partner come in at any time they want. This is showcased in in-game cutscenes where you're depicted with your gear and mods and decked out weapons and whatnot, and on the other side, your co-op partner is seeing the same thing, however, they're the star of their campaign and you're the supporting actor in the back. Which is pretty cool because everyone is their own sort of hero and they can always have their buddies around them and just have a good time playing a co-op campaign. I will talk about the lore of Outriders because there's actually a ton of lore there and it's really, really good. But first, let's talk about the 4 classes that you can choose from. And all of them, by the way, can be customized to your liking from head to toe. All of them, by the way, have 8 special abilities. All of them, by the way, have a special skill tree, which can be respected at any point. All of them, by the way, are affected by modifications and legendary weapons that you pick up. And all of them, by the way, are actually really cool. First, let's talk about the Trickster, which is an assassin class focused on manipulating time and space. It can use a temporal slice, for example, to slow enemies and make them go pop. Also, he can put down a recall beacon, which allows him to go up into the front lines, do some damage, and come on back to safety. And or a slow trap, which is a personal max pain time altering bubble, which can even slow projectiles. All of this plays heavily into the Trickster's kit. Next up is the Pyromancer, an explosive caster who can light things on fire using its area of effect-based skills. A medium-range pyromaniac that can chain his abilities by spreading his wildfire with Ash Blast, no, not Ass, Ash, definitely Ash Blast, encasing them and stunning the enemy, following up with something called a Heat Wave. Next up is the Devastator, which uses the earth around itself to shatter the enemy with kinetic energy. A Geomancer who can shape itself into projectiles to fly towards the enemy or create a black hole which creates a center of gravity to follow up with devastating combo. Hence, the Devastator. And last but not least, the Technomancer, a support role that can spawn an arsenal of damage and, to be honest, my favorite class so far. He's a weapon master who can summon different death machines for every situation, from carpet bomb artillery, toxic turrets, or even a rocket launcher. This death machine does, however, have a soft spot, as he's the only class that has a heal ability to aid in battle. Oh, and by the way, to be able to heal in Outriders, you need to be able to kill the enemy. Now, this means that the Technomancer not only can deal damage to heal itself, but he can also use the ability to heal himself by using an ability to heal himself. That way, he can heal yourself through a single playthrough, making him perfect for a single player playthrough by healing yourself, dealing damage, and healing yourself using an ability. Play him if you want to play alone, is what I'm trying to say. Being an Outrider means you are a demigod. However, the threat out there on planet Enoch is even greater. Players will be shooting and looting their way through the campaign, but the fun does not end there, because endgame content is going to be available day one on release. The endgame content is called Expeditions, which is all about acquiring new gear, respecing your skill trees to be able to complement any legendary weapons or mods that you may have acquired. All of this while chasing the highest world tier with non-recycled campaign content and handcrafted mechanics. So after you complete an expedition, you're going to be given a gracious amount of loot. However, if you do it within a certain time limit, you're going to be given even better loot. On top of that, if you make it to world tier 15, which is the highest difficulty in the expeditions mode, you're going to be able to go to the Eye of the Storm. I have no idea what's over there, and frankly, I'm kind of scared, but I can't wait to find out and probably get my ass kicked. Aside from that, build customization is one of the core features that is heavily linked to this endgame. Now, let's talk about mods first. Mods add passive abilities ranging from general mods, which can be attached to armor or weapons, skill mods that can be attached to, well, your skills. Instead of one temporal slice, you could have two temporal slices. Or, for example, you have a mod that, you know, the Trickster has, but now you're playing as the Pyromancer, and all of a sudden you have a Trickster Pyromancer build. But one of the unique features is being able to find a unique weapon, ripping out that unique mod that you can only find in that gun, putting it inside of another unique weapon, and now you have a crazy super gun that has two unique mods that can now freeze and electrify the enemy all at the same time, and you're using your temporal slices, and it seems crazy. It seems crazy. And I gotta give a shout out to the developers allowing us to essentially build whatever OP composition we want, and we kind of tell why there's no PvP, and it's totally fine. Whatever, let me just go shoot stuff and blow things up out of proportions, which just seems fun to do with your friends nonetheless. Can you tell I'm excited? Because I am. I cannot wait to figure out what combinations work with what mods, with what gear, with what weapons, with what skills, with which character. I'm thoroughly excited, especially for the end game as well, to be able to continue, get to world tier 15, go into the Eye of the Storm and see what the hell is going on there. And I'm going to be making a lot more videos, not only on, you know, what's OP and what's good, but also about the lore, because I think it's really intriguing to find out what is going on and why we have these demigod-like powers. Anyways, I think you have a good understanding as to what Outriders is. I'm too sketchy, and I hope you have a good one. I'm out. Peace!